If not now, when? When you have more time? When you have more energy, or money, or courage? Fill in the blank. The excuses are endless, yet life is not. Yours too will end. So why not take the chance? Make the leap, the choice, to experience a world of things you can right now. Like greater aliveness. Like the wilds of your imagination. A diet high in joy and wonder. A daily sense of belonging to something beautifully larger. A belief that so much else is possible for you, from you. I suggest now, before the spark of invitation and enthusiasm disappears, before the flame of dream, of desire wanes, before you run out of time, of breath, of life. Welcome to the latest floating poetry broadcast, and thank you for leaning in to show 119 in my ongoing weekly series, coming to you live from the here and now coast of Rhode Island. This is your poet and poetorialist Colin Goedecke, a voice for living our days more fully, more alively, more poetically. In broadcast 118, we turned our ears to the world calling us from many directions, in many ways, wanting to be heard, to be felt, understood, and answered meaningfully, essentially. It was a lot to take in, chew on, digest. Never feel, though, you have to take it all in, just what resonates, what speaks to you. And I'll keep doing my best to pace and cadence things for us, including the heavier and the lighter. Give us breathing and feeling room as we go along. This week, if not now, when? Meaning, what are we waiting for? On many fronts. Why are we holding back, if we are, to go to places of being inside and places of experiencing or exploring outside that we greatly want or wish or dream to go? Ones we each can go to or go toward right now, just through our willingness to open to them. What if, instead of staying tangled, encumbered, ensnared, we simply untie the knots, unravel the tangles we've made or accepted or believed were there, and free ourselves into more possibility, beautiful possibility. And that's why I chose that image of the tangle on the frontispiece of our program, and then the opening, right, the circle, the opening the portal of possibility. Well, let's partake, shall we, of some cultural commentary, poetry inquiry, fresh sources of energy and inspiration to help ignite and impel us, fuel us to step, leap, make a choice to say, now is my moment. Maybe we start with this poem of mine, The Waiting Room. You don't mind sitting there if you have an appointment with a doctor or destiny, and awaiting your turn, as long as there's real rhyme and reason to it, without which the waiting becomes wasting of precious room for living time, freely loving and being time. Jane Hirschfield's poem, The Problem. You are trying to solve a problem. You're almost certainly halfway done, maybe more. You take some salt, some alum, and put it into the problem. Its color goes from yellow to royal blue. You tie a knot of royal blue into the problem, as into a Peruvian quipu of colored string. You enter the problem's bodegas, its flea markets, souks, amid the alleys of sponges and sweets, of jewelry, spices, and hair combs. You ponder which stall, which pumpkin or perfume is yours. You go inside the problem's piano. You choose 3 keys. One surely must open the door of the problem. If only you knew only this. Is the quandary edible or medical, a problem of reason or grief? Is it looking back at you now with the quizzical eyes of a young, bright dog? Her whole body pitched for the fetch. The dog wants to please. If only she could ascertain which direction, what object, which scent of riddle, and if the problem is round or elliptical in its orbit, and if it is measured in foot-pounds, memory, or meat. Thank you, Jane Hirschfield. And here's William Stafford's poem, Your Life. You will walk toward the mirror, closer and closer, then flow into the glass. You will disappear someday like that, being more real, more true at the last. You learn what you are, but slowly. A child, a woman, a man, a self often shattered and pieces put together again, till the end. You halt, the glass opens, a surface, an image, a past. Thank you, William Stafford. Here's David White's poem, Easter Morning in Wales. A garden inside me, unknown, secret, neglected for years, the layers of its soil deep and thick. Trees in the corners with branching arms and the tangled briars like broken nets. Sunrise through the misted orchard, morning sun turns silver on the pointed twig. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I am not sure if I am really seeing or dreaming, or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled from the tomb of longing. Thank you, David White. The tomb of longing. What are your longings that are waiting to go toward, that we are waiting, maybe as a society? For a new beginning, I love this blessing I came across. They were great friends, David White and John O'Donohue. White, the poet philosopher, and O'Donohue, the philosopher poet, both Irishmen. John O'Donohue, for a new beginning. In out-of-the-way places of the heart, where your thoughts never think to wander, this beginning has been quietly forming, waiting until you are ready to emerge. For a long time it has watched your desire, feeling the emptiness growing inside you, noticing how you willed yourself on, still unable to leave what you had outgrown. It watched you play with the seduction of safety and the gray promises that sameness whispered, heard the waves of turmoil rise and relent, wondered, would you always live like this? Then the delight, when your courage kindled, and out you stepped onto new ground, your eyes young again with energy and dream, a path of plenitude opening before you. Though your destination is not yet clear, you can trust the promise of this opening. Unfurl yourself into the grace of beginning that is at one with your life's desire. Awaken your spirit to adventure. Hold nothing back. Learn to find ease in risk. Soon you will be home in a new rhythm, for your soul senses the world that awaits you. For your soul senses the world that awaits you. Thank you, John O'Donohue. That's from To Bless the Space Between Us, a book of blessings. Wonderful book. So maybe now, dear listeners, is when we no longer hold anything back. Well, it's been a scorcher the last few days. It's cooler now, so it's easier, less the fan is turning less quickly right now than it has been to cool things off. I wanted to include this next poem. It's from a listener, a poetically living listener, Robin Messersmith, written on the summer solstice of this year of June 2022. It's called The Morning Glory. I'm a single tendril, clinging to any support, surrendering to my ascension into the morning light, surrounded and helpless within this mysterious and illuminating force, choosing to sweetly succumb to my pursuit of the sky. Thank you, Robin Messersmith, for that poem. Emily Dickinson said, "To live is so startling, it leaves but little room for other occupations." I would say maybe too often we forget or don't realize or recognize the world of wonder we each are in ourselves, and add to the whole, to the other wonders in the world. This poem is a natural wonder. You, something greater, a natural wonder of the world to discover that you're more than a branching tree or rushing river, a green valley or dusk blue mountainside of being. You're a landscape. You're more than a deep current, breaking wave, or high rising tide. You're an ocean. More than a swirl of musical notes, melodies, or major chords. You're a symphony. You're more than a ply of colored threads and intriguing weaves. You're a tapestry. You are not a sole star shining or lone planet spinning through an infinity of space. You are a constellation. Another William Stafford, you reading this, be ready. Starting here, what do you want to remember? How sunlight creeps along a shining floor? What scent of old wood hovers? What softened sound from outside fills the air? Will you ever bring a better gift for the world than the breathing respect that you carry wherever you go right now? Are you waiting for time to show you some better thoughts? When you turn around, starting here, lift this new glimpse that you found. Carry into evening all that you want from this day. This interval you spent reading or hearing this, keep it for life. What can anyone give you greater than now? Starting here, right in this room, when you turn around. Thank you, William Stafford. That fan might be interrupting my concentration, so I'm turning that off for us for now. What will you fill your life pages with tomorrow, my friends? This is written on Quannacantock Beach, Weekapaug, Rhode Island, June 2021. A man by the open sea, open sky, with an open heart, an open book of life pages yet to be written, yet to be read. The thirst for aliveness. This is a piece that I composed for a spirit brother, a fellow wanderer, on his recent birthday, Tim Gervin, out in the Pacific Northwest. An inspiration in his seeking, an inspiration for me in his seeking and embodying of nature's essences. Great lover of the wild waters of those places out there. The thirst for aliveness. It's felt, deeply felt, in all your images, in all your words and letterings, creatings. in the expressions of your face, intonations of your voice, in the life choices you've made, around all the opportunities you've found, taken, shaped, day by decade, to quench the thirst of your oceanic body and spirit, mercurial mind, wanderer soul, for rich and rampant aliveness. Breathing lightning. What would it be like to breathe bolts of wild, bright energy into your body, like a god? To inhale, exhale great flashes of passion from your inner heavens, ones that take you from ground to cloud, in flights of ecstatically loosed intention. What would you do with such strobes of desire lighting up unlit till now places of your life, striking and stoking desire for something else, something more, something you suddenly want to move the mountains of yourself toward with a holy, highly charged heart? The Stanford psychology PhD candidate Michael Schwalbe, Schwalbe, of the many regrets people describe, regrets of inaction outnumber those of action by nearly 2 to 1. We are left with a paradox of inaction. On one hand, we instinctively tend to stick with the default or go with the herd. Researchers call it the status quo bias. We feel safe in our comfort zones where we can avoid the sting of regret, and yet, at the same time, we regret most the actions and risks we did not take. Well, let's leave those comfort zones, shall we, or greatly stretch them. John W. Gardner's book, Self-Renewal, the Individual and the Innovative Society, on what children can teach us about risk, failure, and personal growth. This was a forgotten 1964 field guide to keeping your company and your soul vibrantly alive. It was worth bringing in for our program and you. In there, he said, one of the reasons why mature people are apt to learn less than young people is that they are willing to risk less. Learning is a risky business, and they do not like failure. In infancy, when the child is learning at a truly phenomenal rate, a rate they will never again achieve, they're also experiencing a shattering number of failures. Watch them. See the innumerable things they try and fail at, and see how little the failures discourage them. With each year that passes, they'll be less blithe about failure. By adolescence, the willingness of young people to risk it has diminished greatly. And all too often, parents push them further along that road by instilling fear, by punishing failure, or making success seem too precious. By middle age, most of us carry in our heads a tremendous catalog of things we have no intention of trying again because we tried them once and failed, or tried them once and did less well than our self-esteem demanded. We pay a heavy price for our fear of failure. It's a powerful obstacle to growth. It assures the progressive narrowing of the personality and prevents exploration and experimentation. There's no learning without some difficulty and fumbling. If you want to keep on learning, you must keep on risking failure all your life. It's as simple as that. Yeah, I'm all for taking the risks and expanding and being larger. We can stay smaller or we can grow larger. I think that's a choice all the time. Going beyond our imagining, our self-limiting. This is called keep expanding. Crazy, isn't it? How easy it is to keep the conception of ourselves and others so small, so Lilliputian. How seemingly simple to draw so many borders around our beings and theirs, when who we are and who they are is often so much bigger, so much wider and deeper than we choose to believe or open our self-limiting selves to even imagine. So I've made it a personal mission, a cause célèbre, to expand, to keep expanding my awareness, my consciousness, conscientiousness of the endless dimensions, great realms, greater wealth of possibilities that may reside inside this man that man, that woman, flowering child, a dear friend, lover, passing stranger. Homo digitalis, digital man. This poem came to me in 2017 about how the seduction of technology can reduce us. And I think to revisit that anytime we can and make sure it's not diminishing or reducing us or keeping us from living an actual life. Not that it's not valuable in some way to have it as a tool. Homo digitalis. Overwired to the world, underwired to the heart, evolving and devolving, who lives yinly and yangly, i.e. actually and virtually, from restless plugging in to endless plugging up, a curious species, both spacious and specious, man of this progressively expressive, regressive, time-lapsing moment. Anne Lamott, the writer from her book Stitches, a handbook on meaning, hope, and repair, you might find interesting, on finding magic in the mundane. She says, here's the true secret of life. We mostly do everything over and over. In the morning, we let the dogs out, make coffee, read the paper, help whoever is around get ready for the day. We do our work. In the afternoon, if we have left, we come home, put down our keys and satchels, let the dogs out, take off constrictive clothing, make a drink, or put water on for tea, toast the leftover bit of scone. I love ritual and repetition. Without them, I would be a balloon with a slow leak. And yet, the most magical moments happen when life's soft living body shakes free of the confining exoskeleton our routines impose. She says beauty is a miracle of things going together imperfectly. The search is the meaning, the search for beauty, love, kindness, and restoration in this difficult, wired, and often alien modern world. The miracle is that we are here, that no matter how undone we've been the night before, we wake up every morning and are still here. It's phenomenal just to be. This idea overwhelms some people. Thank you, Anne Lamott, for that. And G.K. Chesterton, man back in time, about 100 years back, on how to dig for the, quote, submerged sunrise of wonder. He's one of my favorites, G.K. Chesterton, 1874 to 1936. Philosopher, writer, philosopher, impassioned early eugenics opponent, prolific author of several dozen books, several hundred poems and short stories, and several thousand essays. You can read his autobiography of G.K. Chesterton. There's a couple out, and that's probably one of the best. He said, what was wonderful about childhood is that anything in it was a wonder. It was not merely a world full of miracles. It was a miraculous world. No man knows how much he's an optimist, even when he calls himself a pessimist, because he has not really measured the depths of his debt to whatever created him and enabled him to call himself anything. At the back of our brains, there is a forgotten blaze or burst of astonishment at our own existence. The object of the artistic and spiritual life is to dig for the submerged sunrise of wonder, so that a man sitting in a chair might suddenly understand that he is actually alive and be happy. Thank you, G.K. Chesterton. So what are you breathing in right now, or today, earlier, or about to? How deeply, how discerningly, consciously, feelingly are you breathing in? Recently I was breathing this in, the scent of weathered boardwalk mingling with ocean-salted air and full flowering dune roses, soft and sweet, mingling with aromas of childhood and beaches and fragrant moments like this elsewhere, mingling quietly, purely, welcomely. Are you celebrating? This was actually the lead-in poem for broadcast 100. We're at 119, so that was 19 back. Are you celebrating? So it comes up again. A good question for you to ask yourself, me to ask myself. Your aliveness, your beauty, your mystery, curiosity, your essence, innocence, your passion, desires, night or daydreams, your body, this trillion-cell wonder, all your senses, outer to inner, your deep friendships, kinships, past to present, the sea, the land, the sky, the sun, moon, and stars, the natural world, its simple treasures, abundant wonders, the wild, your wilderness, your pure man or womanhood, your freedom, courage, wisdom, your life and singular life journey, the one you're on right now, your feelings of love, places of belonging, your possibilities and passages of becoming, the heart and soul of your whole remarkable, irreplaceable being. All these dimensions so worthy of your embracing. All these gifts ever ready for your celebrating. What if, dear listeners, what if you ran on the fuel of wonder every day instead of the fuel of busy or worry or being in a hurry? What if you danced in the rain like a kid, with or without clothes? Or lay on the grass and daydreamed on the clouds? Or burst out into song? What if you spent more time simply being instead of more doing? What if you forgave someone for something, or forgave yourself? What if you held out a reservoir to the universe instead of a thimble? What if you went to a place of deep, much deeper rest inside yourself? What if, instead of getting or staying lost in the global, you began to change the world around you today with one simple act of kindness? What if you decided there's always room for discovery and seek to discover one new something interesting each day or week? What if you let yourself be wildly spontaneous? What if this was your last hour on earth? What would you do? What would you say? Napoleon Hill said back in time, do not wait. The time will never be right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you have at your command, and better ones will be found as you go along. What if, dear listeners, what if? Herman Melville, of course you would know him from Moby Dick and other things, on the mystery of what makes us who we are. He felt we must see ourselves free from the illusion that there's a steady vector of personal growth along which we glide unperturbed towards some final completeness. And he wrote these words, the mingling threads of life are woven by warp and woof, calms crossed by storms, a storm for every calm. There's no steady unretracting, unretracing progress in this life. We do not advance through fixed gradations, and at the last one pause, through infancy's unconscious spell, boyhood's thoughtless faith, adolescence's doubt, the common doom, then skepticism, then disbelief, resting at last in manhood's pondering repose of if. But once gone through, we trace the round again, and our infants, boys, and men, and ifs, eternally, wherein lies the final harbor, whence we unmoor no more. Thank you, Melville. you. And you could change here you to brother, father, daughter, or son, or friend, or other. You. You of the light. You of the stars. You of the waters. You of what was. You of what will be. You of the heart. You of the whole. Let all these fill you and hold you. All speak, sing in their ways from their deeper wonders to you, and you from yours to them. Dear listeners, I feel the tide is on your side, on all of our sides, more than we may know. Life's tide, and it's favoring currents and winds. So raise your sail to catch the wind of your days or your dreams. Any fair wind that finds you, that comes to fill you with an eagerness to leave your harbor, set out on the tide and seek the antipodes and serendipities of life's wider open waters. James Kimbrell's poem, How to Tie a Knot. If I eat a diet of rain and nuts, walk to the P.O. in a loincloth, file for divorce from the world of matter, say, not it to the sea oats, not it to the sky above the disheveled palms, not it to the white or green oyster boats and the men on the bridge with their fishing rods that resemble so many giant whiskers. If I repeat, this is not it, this is not why I'm waiting here, will I fill the universe with all that is not it, and allow myself to grow very still in the center of this fishing town in winter? Will I look out past the cat sleeping on the windowsill and say, not it, garbage can, not it, long video store until I happen upon what is not it? Will I wake up and behold the quote actual, the quote real, the quote authentic, the is? Instead, I walk down the island quickie, take a pound of baked shrimp in an ice-filled baggie, then walk to the beach to catch my dinner. Now waiting is the work I'm waiting for. Now the sand crane dive bombs the surf of his own enlightenment because everything is bait and lust and hard up for supper. I came out here to pare things down, wanted to be wind, simple as sand, to hear each note in the infinite orchestra of waves fizzling out beneath the rotting dock at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when the voice that I call I is a one-man boat slapping toward the shore of a waning illusion. Hello, waves of salty and epiphanic distance. Good day, bird who will eventually go blind from slamming head first into the water. What do you say, fat flounder out there deep in your need, looking like sand speckled with shells? Lying so still you're hardly there, lungs lifting with such small air, flesh both succulent and flaky when baked with white wine, lemon, and salt, your eyes rolling toward their one want when the line jerks and the reel clicks and the rod bends and you give up the ocean floor for a mouthful of land. Thank you, James Kimbrell. How to Tie a Knot. Well, if there's much more becoming yet to come for you, what will it take to emerge there? Becoming a butterfly. Brightly colored, abundantly winged, lighter than air. To become one, you must climb out of your chrysalis, out of your carapace, your unmetamorphosed self. Discover, then enter your newer, truer form, and fly off, fly forth, flutter freely into the wider, wilder world. I was floating today in the ocean and feeling there into that sensation and into finding and living in our balance, in our natural balance versus imbalance, our centeredness, our groundedness, no matter what else is happening, is moving around us. And especially that, I think that will help us move through so much of life in these days and these times and ourselves, no matter what. This happened to be a poem for one of the spring equinoxes, serenely centered, but it might help us. You're floating straight up, above a field or an ocean, a forest or mountain. Your limbs are loose, your gaze is soft. A warm breeze plays on your skin. Centered over your head is a great sun. Below your soul's a great moon. The three of you floating together, balanced weightlessly, cradled gently in space and the open sky. Your three bodies a trinity of light and lightness, serenely centered with the earth, the fertile earth, your home, your breathing and birthing place, being and becoming place, that turns itself now slowly, now surely again to flower at your feet. Stanford's Tina Seelig writes about the importance of cultivating awareness and embracing the unfamiliar in her book, What I Wish I Knew When I Was 20. Lucky people take advantage of chance occurrences that come their way. Instead of going through life on cruise control, they pay attention to what's happening around them and therefore are able to extract greater value from each situation. Lucky people are also open to novel opportunities and willing to try things outside of their usual experiences. They're more inclined to pick up a book on an unfamiliar subject, to travel to less familiar destinations, and to interact with people who are different from themselves. Orson Welles spoke of the gift of ignorance. Those who are doggedly attached to the idea they began with may well execute on that idea and do it well and fast, but along the way they often miss so many unanticipated possibilities, options, alternatives, and paths they would have taken, that would have taken them away from that linear focus on executing on the vision and sent them back into a place of creative dissidence and uncertainty, but also very likely yielded something orders of magnitude better. All creators need to be able to live in the shade of the big questions long enough for truly revolutionary ideas and insights to emerge. They need to stay and act in that place relentlessly through the first, most obvious wave of ideas. Like that. Thank you, Orson Welles. I hadn't read that before. What an extraordinary creator he was, who I believe gave everything he had. He gave his all, and lived in that place, and as a result, gave us a lot of amazing things. You arrive now at a new beginning, each thought creating a reality, each day calling you to listen to your inner wisdom there inside and growing, each moment opening to a place of greater possibility, discovery, sensibility, each choice forming a fascinating present and future. I wanted to read you a Ferlinghetti poem, I Am Waiting, because I was thinking of the larger waiting that many of us are doing as a society that may be happening right now, and of inviting in what we're waiting for and plunging into life while we're waiting, even if it doesn't come or as expected. And I won't have time to read this. This is a longer poem. It's a wonderful poem, but I'm going to pass on it for now, but I'm going to point you to it. It's Lawrence Ferlinghetti, I Am Waiting. You can find that at the poetryfoundation.org site. But I will read you Michael Mead's, the applied mythologist, thoughts about the world right now. As the chaos in the world increases, most ideas of the future become fatalistic, yet the situation only seems, quote, hopeless when viewed from the narrow logic of a collapsing worldview. Old ways of seeing the world are blocking more vital paths of imagination, vision, and healing. The point is not simply evolution or progress. Rather, there needs to be a collective rite of passage that transforms our worldview. The agony of the earth calls for each of us to defeat the growing alienation and isolation of life in order to become more human and be more present. The issue is not the pretension of, quote, saving the planet, but rather finding deeper ways of serving the earth. What we learn from mythic stories and imagination is how our human nature can make us part of the ground of being and the vital pulse of the living world. the human rights activist Jody Williams, and thank you, Michael Mead, for that. She received the 1997 Nobel Peace Prize, by the way. I didn't know that. You may not be aware of her either, Jody Williams. Her book is My Name is Jody Williams, A Vermont Girl's Winding Path to the Nobel Peace Prize. What has fueled my passion for change really is righteous indignation at injustice. Anybody can be an agent of change. People think that if they can't tackle all the world's problems and make it all better overnight, there's no purpose. I totally disbelieve that. I believe that every action really does contribute to change, and the power that each and every one of us has to decide whether we want to be participants in creating the world we live in or we choose. And this is also a choice that we pretend isn't. We choose to do nothing. People say, oh, I'm not interested in politics. Every single thing you do is politics because the interaction of human beings is politics writ large. I believe we have to feel empowered to make that choice. And if we choose to feel passionate about something and do nothing, it is a choice. You've chosen to do nothing. And believe me, there are other people who will step into that gap, take your power, and use to accomplish what they want. Thank you, Jody Williams. The historian Hannah Arendt. The smallest act is the most limited circumstance. In the most limited circumstances bears the seed of the same boundlessness, because one deed and sometimes one word suffices to change every constellation. William Stafford once again. The well rising. The well rising without sound. The spring on a hillside, the plowshare brimming through deep ground everywhere in the field, the sharp swallows in their swerve, flaring and hesitating, hunting for the final curve, coming closer and closer. The swallow heart from wing beat to wing beat, counseling decision, thunderous examples. I place my feet with care in such a world. John Sorowicki, Mr. Laska, late in life and early in the day. He drains and coils the garden hose, done shadowboxing with his most gigantic and golden self. For the next hour or so he deadheads lilies, recalling weddings and shoreline towns where trees exploded bud by bud and the sea was as green as a lime and clouds were as white as a manager's shirt, where young people were so casual about their claim over him, their superiority and genius, making light of his sad gratitude, his spot between existing and exiting, his color, the color of a pearl or the moon seen through a cheap telescope. Soon he's spreading murky gray crystals. Late in life, each day can be as vast as the sea. He thinks of his wife, whole again and lovely as she strolls along the boardwalk past the spindly grasses and blackboard menus and red and blue umbrellas, eager to lie on the beach. Maybe remember him and the dead they share, the young couples in brown photos peeling from black pages who offer a smile and a roll of fingers that curl like an early morning wave. Thank you, John Sorowicki. Because the spirit never ages. Because the joys of life are edgeless, ageless, out of every boundedness. They flow with ease, with light and sound, color and consciousness. When you can awake each day with spirit, bring to your day a lively eye, a lively heart, a lively mind. Engage and behold the wonders, great and small, old and new, the everywhere beauty, innocence, serendipity, from the wild green majesty of a forest to the wild blue bounty of an ocean, to the wild white poetry and purity of snow-capped mountains. When you can rise and breathe in the fresh air of possibility for deeply feeling, wholly loving, inner peace and outer harmony, whoever and wherever you are, however long you've lived or may be living in the world, because the spirit never grows old, despite the body's waxing and waning, never fades or slows, only shines, sings forth, readily, only flows timelessly, freely, and ever joyfully upon your inviting, upon your allowing. Billy Collins, my life. Sometimes I see it as a straight line drawn with a pencil and a ruler transecting the circle of the world, or as a finger piercing a smoke ring, casual, inquisitive. But then the sun will come out, or the phone will ring, and I will cease to wonder if it is one thing, a large ball of air in memory, or many things, a string of small farming towns, a dark road winding through them. Let us say it is a field I have been hoeing every day, hoeing and singing, then going to sleep in one of its furrows. Or now that it is more than half over, a partially open door, rain dripping from the eaves. Like yours, it could be anything. A nest with one egg, a hallway that leads to 1,000 rooms. Whatever happens to float into view when I close my eyes or look out a window for more than a few minutes, so that some days I think it must be everything and nothing at once. But this morning, sitting up in bed, wearing my black sweater and my glasses, the curtains drawn and the windows up, I am a lake, my poem is an empty boat, and my life is the breeze that blows through the whole scene, stirring everything it touches, the surface of the water, the limp sail, even the heavy, leafy trees along the shore. Thank you, Billy Collins. I'm sure you might agree that you're the author of your story, the story you tell about your life to others, to yourself. But what about being a hero of that story? Will you wait to be a hero, your hero? After all, it's on your shoulders. You are the hero of your story, the one to brave the way, to risk and pave your way, the one to rise from your depths to your heights, dimensions far greater than you realize, ever thought or were told you had, to summon the courage to live or ease or save your only life, for only you can. Yes, you are the hero, that heroic being already waiting in the wings. As we come into our last handful of sharings, it's a poem from Shelter Harbor here in Rhode Island, May 2021. The if. The if you have at the front of yourself is not if only, but wouldn't it be wonderful if? And you fill in the blank with anything and everything you desire, great or small. Why not do it now? Do it daily. Do it full-heartedly and watch the universe work its magic. The, to me, wonderful artist back in time, Rockwell Kent, in the preface to his journals, penned in the final years of his life, he looked back on the wanderlust of his youth, and he said, "Wander where you will over the world, over all the world, from every valley seeing forever new hills calling you to climb them, from every mountaintop farther peaks enticing you. Always the distant land looks fairest, till you are made at last a restless wanderer, never reaching home, never, till you stand one day on the last peak on the border of the interminable sea, stopped by the finality of that." So we come back now to David White, The Journey. Above the mountains, the geese turn into the light again, painting their black silhouettes on an open sky. Sometimes everything has to be inscribed across the heavens so you can find the one line already written inside you. Sometimes it takes a great sky to find that first bright and indescribable wedge of freedom in your own heart. Sometimes with the bones of the black sticks left when the fire has gone out, someone has written something new in the ashes of your life. You are not leaving, even as the light fades quickly now. You are arriving. Thank you, David White. That's from House of Belonging. And last for now, go forth. This and every day, go forth with your own thoughts and feelings, choices and decisions that liberate you, that untie and untangle you from everything and everyone, anything and anyone that keeps you from being free, to fully live your life, to be entirely yourself, to sing your song, the one you know by heart, all the day, all the night long. Go forth now. If not now, when? While you can, because you can, without fear of going back or falling back. Go with boldness, with wholeness, into the abounding air. Thank you again for leaning in, listening, and feeling in, and for appreciating these broadcasts, for sharing them with others, for offering suggestions and contributions. If you have a thought, compliment, or question, send a note. My email is colin@thepoetorialist.com. To give thanks with a donation, I thank you if you do. You can contribute by Venmo to fivefold, FIVEFOLD, at pipeline.com, or by PayPal, or directly through my site, thepoetorialist.com, and the Donate tab, or simply by mail to me at P.O. Box 1032, Westerly, Rhode Island, 02891. At times, patrons can also host me as a working poet in residence on a given property for a given time in a given season, to create a new flight of poetic art and dedicate it to them. Email me to discuss the possibilities. Meanwhile, you can hear all the broadcasts online, on YouTube, on the Floating Poetry playlist. I hope you'll lean in soon again. Until then, dear listeners, may you leap into deeper and fuller places of being and becoming without hesitating, trusting your pure spirit, your true nature, to guide you any and every moment. Goodbye for now, and good spirits.